Once you start getting calls on your diary, the most important thing that you can learn is how to actually close those deals. And after closing millions in deals using this one call closing framework, I'm going to show you guys how you can increase your close rate. Now, if we look at the data here, the average person that first starts out an agency will probably close at a 10% close rate. And by the way, that's really bad. Industry average is actually 30%, okay? So this is the kind of target that we're looking to get to just to hit average. However, let's say you're at 10% at the moment. All we are focusing on is trying to get to that 20%. Because hear me out, even just by doubling your close rate, you are going to double your revenue, okay? So you don't need to scale your ads and get more calls and get 20 calls and close 2. What we need to do is close 2 out of 10. And you might be thinking, yeah, Dan, sometimes I close 3 out of 10 though. Good, well, we want to increase it even further, okay? Some of the best closers in this world are closing up to 80%, which is absolutely insane. Now, you don't need to worry about this right now, especially if you are a new agency owner, but what we need to do is move from this 10 to 20. And that is what I'm going to show you in this video, how you can take some key tips and fundamentals and start to improve your closing straight away. And we've looked at why it's so important, so let's jump into the structure. Now, first of all, the first thing we need to master is the introduction. And the introduction is one of the most important bits of the call, because in psychology, we are told that people make an assessment based on our first 20 seconds, I believe, or 13 seconds, whatever it is. We do not want to start that call all shaky, nervous. In fact, what we need to do is build authority here. And if we can build authority in this first 30 seconds, then already we are going to have one of the most important things in sales, which is control. And how are you actually going to do that? First of all, you are going to spend a little bit of time actually mastering the introduction. So you're going to master your introduction by practicing it. You need to practice this in your bedroom, in your office, wherever you're at. And it should look something like this. Hi, Mr. Client. I've been in the agency space for X amount of time and we've actually helped XYZ get to XYZ, okay? If you are brand new and you can't do an authoritative based introduction, just make sure that you've got confidence and good tonality. And again, we do this by practicing. We need to be someone that truly believes we are going to close that deal. Because if you come into this sales call and you're starting to think, oh no, this is my first sales call, I'm not going to do very well here. What if that client asks me a rubbish question? Who cares? You are going to a sales call. Every single person has. I still do. I barely take calls anymore. It's normally my team now. However, I still do some sales calls and I still them up. So don't worry. Now, once you have done the intro, and the intro is really important, like I said, we're going to do something called framing. And framing is going to eliminate the window shoppers, right? We do not want window shoppers, because framing essentially allows us to be able to let them know that they're here for a sales call. So, Mr. Client, in this call, I'm going to show you XYZ, and I'm also going to understand a little bit more about your business so we can see if we can really help you. But by the end of the call, we're going to come to a decision that is actually going to allow you to be able to either work with us or not work with us. Are you okay with that? Okay? And the reason why we're doing this is we don't just want to say, oh yeah, I just want to understand a bit more about your business, right? We want them to know, okay, you're taking control, you watching this video, you're the person taking control of that call, and you are eliminating the out of window shoppers, okay? If they say, already that they're not going to be making a decision on the call, use it for practice, but as you start scaling, you can then handle that objection. But we're not going to go into that too much. So introduction, framing, absolutely covered. Once you have done your frame, you've set the tone for the call. They know that this is not a window shopping call. We then can either do one of two things. If you are nervous and you are someone that is, just got into sales, maybe taken 5 sales calls, you can do a little bit of rapport building here. I actually don't recommend it because it ends up being small talk. And small talk doesn't close you deals. If anything, it kind of makes you look like a slimy salesperson anyway. So unfortunately, I wouldn't recommend rapport building, but you can do it if you are nervous, just to kind of ease into the call. But what we're really doing here is moving on to the discovery phase. Now, the goal of the discovery is to identify pain points. Because as sales guys, we are selling to pain. We're matching pain points with a solution. It's a matching process. So, for example, if I'm cold right now, even though I'm in Dubai, I'm on a nice balcony, but if I'm cold, my solution is to go and get a blanket that I can put over my legs, right? Or if I'm warm, I can take my jumper off. It's the same thing that we're doing with local businesses. If their pain point is they've got loads of leads, but they're not qualified, the solution is you have a system that is going to allow them to get more qualified leads. So what we're doing with the discovery phase is really identifying the issues that they've got in their business. We need to really understand the pain points. So we do this by asking questions that are going to allow us their current situation. So what is their situation at the moment? What are they doing currently to solve the problem? So what are they doing? Sorry, I just deleted that. Doing to solve. Okay. So let's just write that back in. So what are they actually doing to solve the current problem that they've got? So for example, if they don't get enough leads as a business, what are they doing? Are they using My Builder? Are they using Checker Trade, Bark? Are they relying on referrals? Like, even though it's not a problem solved, like what are they actually doing for that? Okay. We also want to understand why. Now, this is where, if you imagine you're asking questions currently like this, right? This is what a lot of junior salespeople do. So you're kind of asking questions where it's called surface level, okay? And by asking why, we can actually go beneath that surface level and we can really understand what their problem actually is and why do they need to solve it ASAP, okay? Because this is going to help us create urgency. So if we understand that their business has a problem and we can actually solve that problem, which we'll get to with the pitch in a second, then we can really help that business. And also, you know that you're not wasting time, right? So the why is a really good way to do it. Now, one of the things that I hear from running Client Capital Network, we've got over 300 agency owners at the moment, and we help people get time, location, financial freedom. If you do want to check that out, check it out in the link in the description. But a lot of the new guys say this. They say, Dan, I disqualify a lot of my sales calls. And I say, why? And they say, budget. They say they're not ready. Well, actually, if you are brand new, you are not going to disqualify anyone because you need experience, okay? Even if you've got 6 months sales experience, do not disqualify until your calendar is absolutely rammed. You want to take as many sales calls as possible. It doesn't matter if they are not ready to move forward. It doesn't matter if they don't have the money right now, okay? This is your goal. This is your opportunity to get so much better. Now, I'm not saying for the rest of your life, you're going to take shit sales calls, right? No one wants to do that. We want to have qualified leads, and that's the whole point of it, right? So we can just close. But when you first start out, it's all about experience. So let's say we've started asking maybe 5 to 10 discovery questions, okay? And we've really kind of gone under the surface level and we've understood their why. We then want to move on to goals, okay? And once we've understood their goals, we can do something called bridging the gap, which I'm going to talk about in a second, right? But in psychology, if we can understand the problem with that business and then we can understand their goals, we can make that prospect really visualize that it's possible with the right solution. And guess what? You're going to pitch that right solution to them. So by understanding their goals, we're putting them in that emotional state, okay? We've created pain by asking questions. We've got them to relive that pain by answering those questions. The things that they're struggling with the business, how long has it been going on for? What have they tried? What's not worked? What has worked? And then we understand where they want to be as a business. Oh, they want to take their time away from the tools, right? They want to spend more time with their family. They want to be able to go on holiday 5 times a year, blah, 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 blah. Goals are super important because they are going to put that prospect in that emotional state. And that is where we need them to be. Because once they're in that emotional state, we can then do a consequence, action, question or scenario, right? Now, what this basically means is if they don't act now, are they going to be stuck in the same situation? Which they will be. And the reason why they are going to relive that is because they've just told you for the last 10 minutes that their business is genuinely struggling And then you put them in an emotional state where they're talking about all the nice things. And then you can say, but what happens if we don't actually do anything about this? What happens if we do stay the same? What happens if right now all you do for the next 5 years is rely on Bark, Checker Trade, referrals and Sally down the road? Are you going to be able to achieve those things that you just mentioned to me right now? You've got to list those things as well, right? We want to list these goals because that is how we can create the most amount of emotional buy-in. Because once we've got that emotional buy-in, we can then pitch. So a lot of people say to me, Dan, I don't know if I'm pitching right, I'm not closing deals. But here's the truth of it. Your close actually happens in the discovery phase. So everything that we've just spoken about here, okay, all of this stuff is where your pitch is actually happening. It's where your close is actually happening, okay? We are pre-handling objections. We're creating emotional state. We're building rapport. We're doing everything that we can do. So they're so bought in already that when you pitch, as long as the pitch matches the pain point with a solution, you are in a perfect scenario, okay? We have a problem, we have a solution. You've passed on that problem by putting a good solution in front of them. So once we do that, how long should the pitch be? Let's say 5 mins max. Please, 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 please do not read off a slide. Imagine right now you're watching this video and you're taking good amount of value from this video, and I was just sat here reading this iPad like this. You would be so bored, okay? Please do not do that. Please do not read off a slide. What can you do to pitch? You can do Miro, you can do Canva Doc, you can show your ads dependent on your offer, and you can just have a chat, okay? We are not hard selling on the pitch. We've done a lot of the hard work in the discovery. Now, once we've done the pitch, you can either do one of two things. The first thing you can do is show your price on the slide. So you might have 3 different packages, right? You might have 1K, 2K, 3K, whatever it is, right? And obviously we know that a lot of sales guys online will say, well, if you pitch to the 3K and they go to the 2K, you're in a good situation. Now, I'm not saying that that is the worst thing to do, but I honestly don't recommend it. For you guys that are new, or sorry, for you that's new, that's watching this video right now, what you need to do is avoid this kind of pitching like this, right? We don't want to do this. What we actually want to do is just have one solid price point, let's say 2K a month, and we want to make sure that we've provided enough value throughout the pitch so that they just go, yes, okay? Or they throw some objections. Now, the second thing that you can do, because I said that was one of 2 things, the second thing that you can actually do is do a 1 in 10 close. Now, you might have seen Hormozy talk about this. 10 being, Dan, this is the best thing that I've ever seen in the world. 1 being, Dan, this isn't for me. This absolutely sucks. I never want to talk to you again. Where do you sit, right? And you get the prospect to go, 7, okay? Prospect says 7. You say, why not a 1? Why is it not a 1? Now, when the prospect says, well, to be honest, I really like XYZ, they are selling themselves onto your solution, okay? They're selling themselves. So it's a really good way to really understand what the true objection is. So that's 2 ways you can price drop, right? 1 in the pitch with either 3 different models or just 1 specific model, or you can do something like a 1 in 10 price drop, right? I won't list all of the other ones as well because there are so many in sales. But if I was you, I'd probably recommend doing the 1 in 10. I think it's a really good way of doing it. It's a nice way into it, and you can go from there. Now, once you've done that, you are going to face some objections. And I'm not going to sit here and teach you how to handle every single objection. We have that in Client Capital in so much detail: price, trust, talk to your wife, like whatever you feel like you'll come across is there in Client Capital, right? But what I'm going to say is this: you are pre-handling objections in the discovery, okay? Now, a lot of people don't realize that actually the discovery is going to help you so much because you are going to use this as ammo at the end of the call. I'll give you one example, right? Let's say as part of the consequence action question, they answered, no, I'm super serious. I need to do this for my business ASAP. I can't wait anymore. Like, we do not want to be in the same situation. We've tried everything. This is going to be my last hope, right? So he's given you a bunch of ammo, he or she there, like so much ammo. And then they hit you with, I want to think about it. You can then use that ammo against them. So you're literally shooting a gun, metaphorically, don't ban me on YouTube, at the prospect, so that they are backed into a corner because we're using their own words against them, okay? We're using literally what they said in the discovery against them. So then what we're not doing is creating a back and forth. All we're doing is literally having a conversation based on what they've said. We do not want to create this back and forth situation because that is what objection handlers do. They sit there and argue with the prospect. Well, why do you think you're not ready right now? And there are loads of ways that you can handle objections, right? Loads of frameworks, resonate, reframe, whatever it is, right? But the main thing that you need to understand is that all of the information that you need is in that discovery. Now, once you've got that tie down, they've said, look, let's do it. What you need to do is get that payment link in the chat, okay? So get the payment in the chat and then sort the contract. Now, by following a simple framework, you are going to close way more deals. So let me just go straight back into it really quickly so you can understand. I'm going to use a smaller pen so we can fit it all in one, okay? First of all, introduction. And this introduction is going to be really authoritative based. Then we are going to frame the call so that they know that this isn't a window shopping call. We're not here to do window shopping. We're here to close them, okay? Oh, sorry, my bad, people. Then what we're going to do is the discovery. And our goal of the discovery is to create pain. After that, we are going to do a goals. Bear with me 1 second. Goals. Then we're going to do consequence action, making them realize that if they don't take action, they are going to stay in the same situation as a business that they have been for the last X amount of time, right? It's everyone's worst nightmares, staying the same. Then we're going to pitch. Then we're going to do price drop. We're going to handle the objections. And then we are going to close with confidence by getting that payment link in the chat. Okay? Now, by following that exact framework, guys, you are going to definitely be able to increase your close rate. I can do a full breakdown video if you want to see it in detail, even provide you my scripts. Whatever you guys want to see or whatever you want to see personally, just let me know, comment below. I'll be more than happy to show you. But hopefully that will help you increase your close rate massively.